the last 10 years, there have been several NBA draft predictions that have aged horribly.
Stephen A., should the number one pick be a lock?
Absolutely. DeAndre Ayton is going to be the number one overall pick. I don't give a about how this kid in Europe looks.
Today, we are looking at 10 of these absolutely terrible draft predictions, starting backwards with Jaylen Brown in 2016. When notable superfan of the Celtics, Bill Simmons, could not have been more wrong about the future of the 2024 Finals MVP.
If you're the Celtics, you take somebody who's the 7th or 8th best player in the draft, or best prospect, I should say. Why take him at 3rd? Why not move backwards?
The only all-stars so far in the top 10 of the 2016 draft were top 3 picks in Ben Simmons, Brandon Ingram, and Jaylen Brown. This draft has had some steals such as Domantas Sabonis at pick 11, Pascal Siakam at 27, DeJounte Murray at 29, and Fred VanVleet, who went undrafted. However, many would say that in a redraft, 4-time All-Star and NBA champion Jaylen Brown would go number 1. So why did Bill Simmons not believe?
He's basically Jeff Green. Goes up in the air, he goes through 2 guys, and then he misses the layup. Jaylen Brown, he just has no touch. Now, the question is, can you teach somebody how to have touch?
JB was Pac-12 Rookie of the Year at Cal and was drafted as a freshman based on the potential of who he could become. Jeff Green was a junior when he was drafted, and as a pro, he never approached all-star level. If Green had on the Thunder, Russ and Kevin Durant probably would have won at least 1 ring together, but instead, Green was traded in year 4 for a package that centered around media darling Kendrick Perkins. Bill Simmons also said Jaylen Brown had a lack of touch, but Jaylen made 64.3% of his shots at the rim as a rookie, and then in year 9, Jaylen also proved you can teach touch, as he shot 74.3% from the same distance. So Bill Simmons originally never thought Jaylen would be a franchise leader for Boston. But in Los Angeles, Magic Johnson thought Lonzo Ball was about to lead the Lakers to another dynasty era.
Magic was also asked who he would compare Lonzo Ball to. He said simply himself.
Lonzo is special, don't make it, no question about it, because he makes everybody better.
Because Lonzo would eventually suffer from injuries, we're just going to focus on his first 5 seasons here before the injury hit. Because injury or not, Lonzo was not close to the player Magic Johnson thought he would be. Magic not only compared Lonzo to himself, but he also wildly said,
"So Lonzo, just leave me 1 or 2 records, okay? That's it. Don't break all my records. Just let him leave me 1, okay?"
Many have wondered why Jason Tatum was drafted 3rd in the 2017 draft behind Markelle Fultz and Lonzo Ball. But Magic Johnson's words here should shed some light on the hype that was surrounding Lonzo. Compared to a young Jason Kidd or Steph Curry with a 40-inch vertical leap, Lonzo was seen as a unique and potentially generational prospect. At 6'6", his athleticism shined as he relentlessly attacked the rim and gave us some mixtape-like dunks. His shot was money. Despite his strange form, Lonzo made over 40% of his threes in college, and the best part of his game was his playmaking and ability to win. Lonzo was a first-team All-American as a freshman. He led the nation in assists per game, and he also led UCLA to 31 wins. But with that said, Magic Johnson was an All-Star and Finals MVP as a rookie. He was first-team All-NBA by year 4. A healthy Lonzo never showcased that potential at all. I'm still rooting for a Lonzo comeback, but Magic was very off on his prediction here, as was I. But honestly, being wrong about Lonzo is nothing compared to how wrong some people were about DeAndre Ayton.
You need a box office attraction who can flat out ball, who's a big boy, the size, the athleticism, and the combination of all of those things with his gifts that you simply can't teach. DeAndre Ayton, there is nothing to think about. There is nothing to talk about. You have to take DeAndre Ayton.
Stephen A was not only all in on DeAndre, he also managed to throw shots at Luka in this exact same segment.
I don't give a about how this kid in Europe looks.
And going even further, Stephen A believed DeAndre Ayton was such a guarantee that he compared Ayton and Luka to Hakeem and Michael Jordan.
Certainly the Portland Trailblazers dropped the ball by taking Sam Bowie, and their attitude was, we didn't need Michael Jordan. But even though who I'm gonna mention was never Michael Jordan, he still won 2 rings and is still recognized as one of the greatest big men the game has ever seen in Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. Have you ever heard anybody complain about Olajuwon being taken number 1 overall in the same draft that Jordan was taken number 3?
With this, Stephen A meant that while looking back, Michael Jordan should have been the clear number 1 pick of the 1984 draft. Nobody really gets on the Houston Rockets for taking Hakeem Olajuwon number 1 because Hakeem was a 7-foot Hall of Famer and 2-time champ. DeAndre Ayton did not become Hakeem. Everyone knows the Suns made a colossal mistake here, and Ayton was also not the can't-miss prospect that Hakeem Olajuwon was. DeAndre was a first-team All-American at Arizona. However, headed into this draft, DeAndre's defense was heavily called into question, and that in the NBA has been his Achilles heel. Ayton has never made an All-Star team. He has been regressing on the Portland Trailblazers. The real convo here should have been who should go number 1, Luka or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But hindsight is 2020. Scouts can often be very wrong, as was the case with Cam Reddish, who was another can't-miss prospect who Chauncey Billups said,
"He's got a ton of talent, though, and great upside."
I'm thinking Paul George right here. Can put it on the floor, can shoot the 3 ball, competes defensively. But there's some Paul George inside of Cam Reddish.
On paper, Cam Reddish did look like a potential Paul George type of player, but in the NBA, he's been nothing close to Paul George. PG is a 9-time All-Star. He's made the All-Defensive team 4 times. Cam Reddish is already on his 4th team and has seemingly gotten worse as the years have gone on. Playing at Duke with number 1 prospect RJ Barrett and number 2 prospect Zion Williamson, Cam was ranked 3rd in his class and was part of what was then known at the time as the best recruiting class ever. But in the NBA, Cam has not developed as a defender or a playmaker, and he also has not had a reliable jump shot, making just 27.7% of his threes last season. With his height, length, and athleticism, you would think Cam would have carved out a role for himself in the league, but he hasn't. And this is a giant fall off from the high school star who Anthony Edwards once said,
Who the hardest person you had to guard?
Oh, Cam Reddish.
Nah, Cam Reddish different, bro. He different. Yeah, he different.
Now on to the complete opposite side. CBS reporter Reed Forgrave had an interesting take on Jordan Poole.
We are having some shockers here. Is he in the crowd? I don't even think he's at his own table. Do you like this pick, Jordan Poole?
Maybe the worst pick in the draft so far, but this is an absolutely inexplicable pick by the Warriors.
Jordan Poole was the 28th pick in the draft and became a 20-point-per-game scorer in the NBA. He also was a key contributor to a championship roster, as his 17 points per game for the 2022 Warriors were good for 3rd on the team in the playoffs, as Poole's bench scoring was a big reason why Steph, Clay, and Draymond all got their 4th rings. It'll be fun to see what Poole is able to do in New Orleans. His Washington days were forgettable, but even if he were to retire right now, Jordan Poole has still overachieved tremendously for a 28th pick. Worst pick in the draft status is crazy, and crazy is the best way to describe Kevin O'Connor's number 1 prospect for the 2020 draft.
When it comes to talking about who could be the best player in this draft, to me, Killian Hayes deserves to be in that conversation, and I have him number 1 because I think he will be. It's the best prospect in the 2020 NBA draft. Killian Hayes.
We've all made mistakes in life. I've had several NBA predictions go wrong, but saying Killian Hayes should have been the number 1 pick in the 2020 draft is about as big of a swing and a miss as you could possibly take. I give Kevin O'Connor respect here for making a unique pick, but Killian Hayes has proven to be nothing but unreliable. In his NBA career so far, he has shot just 38.3%, and in Detroit, he was given 4 years to prove himself and just wasn't able to. Now for the Nets, he spent most of last season playing in the G League, where he's looking to redeem himself. We all love a great comeback story. We're all rooting for Killian Hayes, but if he was drafted number 1, this would have been one of the worst number 1 picks of all time. Speaking of number 1 picks, Jay Bilas had this to say about James Wiseman.
If this were 5 or 10 years ago, I really believe that James Wiseman would be the number 1 overall pick, and we wouldn't even hesitate to say that. He's a Chris Bosh type player. James Wiseman's going to be a really, really good player for a long time.
If James Wiseman was anywhere close to the player Jay Bilas and many others thought he would be, Golden State would have competed for a title this past season and the years before that. They won the 2022 title with Wiseman hurt. But unfortunately, injuries or not, James Wiseman has been one of the biggest busts we have ever seen. Not only did the Warriors trade him already, but this past season, Wiseman was traded by the Pacers with cash to the Raptors for a trade exception, and the Raptors waived him just 2 days later. You heard that right. The Pacers needed to include cash to even trade James Wiseman. Golden State could have gotten LaMelo Ball with pick number 2 and then traded him, or maybe LaMelo would have developed well in Golden State. We'll never know. What we do know is Jeff Goodman and company somehow had LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards as their 2 biggest busts of the 2020 draft.
El Busto of this draft is who, Robbie?
LaMelo Ball. There's a lot to me that screams like this could be really bad.
Your El Busto is LaMelo. Mine is Anthony Edwards. No surprise there. There's red flags all over the place.
LaMelo Ball was an all-star in just his 2nd season. The main knock on him is really he hasn't been able to stay healthy, but the chance for an incredible career is still right there in front of him. Anthony Edwards has been even better. Ant was just named All-NBA 2nd team for the 2nd straight year. He's led the Timberwolves to back-to-back Western Conference Finals appearances. The franchise has only made 1 Conference Finals appearance before him, and overall, Ant has become one of the faces of the NBA. So Anthony Edwards was not the biggest bust in the draft. Instead, I would say he is actually a high-tier number 1 overall pick in general. Which brings us to our final draft that we can really judge, 2022, where Jabari Smith Jr. was projected to go number 1, and many believed he was going to be a great one.
I think the Jabari Smith kid can be special.
He is Durant-esque. He can guard 1 through 5.
Jabari has only played 3 seasons in the league, so we never want to count anyone out. But in year 3, Kevin Durant was averaging over 30 points per game and finished 2nd in the MVP voting. So to compare Jabari to Kevin Durant is just flat out wrong. Jabari was actually just benched for the Rockets playoff run. This KD comparison did come up a lot though.
Give me a comp.
Well, I mean, the comp's got to be Durant.
And other people said Jabari reminded them of a different all-star.
My comparison for him, I don't know what you think about this, Jonathan, has always been kind of LaMarcus Aldridge.
Can Jabari turn it around? Yes. But in year 3, he shot worse, scored less points, and grabbed less rebounds than he did in year 2, which is not exactly the most promising thing to hear, but with Kevin Durant on his actual team now, maybe Jabari can learn from the man himself and get the most out of his potential. That is my hope for him. I'm rooting for all of these players. And there we have it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications. That way you never miss another video. Only if you did like the video though, of course. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much for supporting. You are awesome. We all know it. And as always, have an awesome day and cue that music.